The day the HOA cop showed up at our house with a gun was a day we never expected. It started as a simple neighborhood dispute, someone complaining about parking. But things quickly spiraled. When he arrived, he wasn't just asking questions or trying to talk it out. He drew his weapon and pointed it directly at my son. That moment froze us all. What the HOA security didn't know was that my son isn't just an ordinary teenager. His special forces, trained in combat, tactics, and keeping calm under pressure. He had his own weapon, and more importantly, he had the skills to stay steady in a situation where most people would panic. That brief standoff was tense. My son didn't make a move to escalate. Instead, he stood firm but calm. His training taught him to read the situation, control his reactions, and find the safest way out. The HOA cop thought he had the upper hand, but it was the opposite. As neighbors gathered and tensions rose, I realized this wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a clear example of how dangerously unprepared some HOA security personnel can be. They're given badges and a bit of authority, but not the training or judgment required for handling real conflicts, especially when weapons are involved. After the incident, we started to investigate the HOA's security practices. We found out that their so-called cop was more like a security guard with minimal training. There were no clear protocols for dealing with armed individuals or high-pressure confrontations. This lack of oversight was a ticking time bomb. It was shocking to realize how many people in the community trusted these security personnel to keep everyone safe without questioning their qualifications. The HOA had put too much faith in an untrained guard, and it almost led to disaster. The idea that someone could pull a gun on my son without knowing who he was or what he was capable of showed how reckless the situation was. My son's military experience made all the difference. He remained respectful but prepared, understanding the risks on both sides. He knew that a single wrong move could escalate things into violence. His calm approach prevented what could have been a tragedy. We began speaking out to raise awareness. People needed to understand the risks of untrained security personnel and the importance of accountability. The HOA's power can't be unchecked, especially when lives are at stake. The community reaction was powerful. Many neighbors expressed shock and concern about the aggressive behavior of the HOA security. Some admitted they had no idea about the lack of training or oversight. This incident opened a floodgate of questions about how much authority HOAs should have and what limits need to be in place. Several residents came forward with their own stories of intimidation and poor handling of disputes. It became clear that this was not an isolated problem but a pattern of abuse of power by the HOA board and their security team. The HOA faced growing pressure to reform. People demanded stricter guidelines, better training for security staff, and more transparency in how these incidents are handled. It was a wake-up call for the entire community. Throughout all this, my son remained humble. He didn't want to be a hero or make a big deal out of what happened. But his experience showed the importance of military training and discipline not just for combat, but for everyday life situations that can suddenly turn dangerous. The incident also made me think deeply about authority. A badge or title doesn't grant someone the right to intimidate or threaten others. True authority requires responsibility, respect, and proper training. The HOA security failed in all these areas. I realized that we all need to know our rights and be ready to stand up when confronted unfairly. My son's ability to handle the situation came from years of preparation and a clear understanding of how to protect himself and his family. Looking forward, this experience changed how we see community safety. It's not about giving power to anyone with a badge. It's about ensuring those with authority have the skills and judgment to use it wisely. We continue to advocate for better policies and oversight in our HOA. This includes proper training for security, clear rules on use of force, and mechanisms for accountability when those rules are broken. The story also serves as a reminder that appearances can be deceiving. The person who looks vulnerable might be the strongest, and those who think they can intimidate without consequence may find themselves in a fight they never expected. After the standoff, tensions didn't just fade away, they simmered beneath the surface. The HOA board tried to downplay the incident, calling it a misunderstanding and insisting their security team acted appropriately. But those of us involved knew better. The truth was that their security policies were dangerously flawed. We pushed harder to get answers. What kind of training did their cop have? What were the rules of engagement when dealing with armed residents? Unfortunately, the HOA was reluctant to share details. It felt like they wanted to sweep everything under the rug and move on. That resistance only made us more determined. We organized meetings with concerned neighbors, legal advisors, and even local law enforcement to discuss the issue. It became clear that the HOA's security setup wasn't just risky for us, it was a potential disaster waiting to happen for anyone living in the community. Some neighbors shared stories of harassment and intimidation, from being threatened over minor infractions to having their privacy invaded. This pattern painted a picture of an overzealous security force operating without checks and balances. The HOA needed to answer for these failings, and the community needed protections. As pressure mounted, the HOA board finally agreed to bring in outside experts to review their security policies. It was a small victory, but a crucial one. The experts confirmed what we suspected: the training was insufficient, the protocols vague, and the authority given to security staff was far too broad. Recommendations were made to limit the use of force, improve communication, and require rigorous background checks and training for all security personnel. Most importantly, the HOA was urged to develop a transparent system for reporting incidents, ensuring residents' concerns wouldn't be ignored. But even with these changes on paper, implementing them would be a challenge. The culture of unchecked power and secrecy within the HOA didn't disappear overnight. It took constant vigilance from the community to hold them accountable. Meanwhile, my son's story inspired others to learn more about their rights and how to safely handle confrontations. We shared resources on de-escalation, self-defense laws, and how to interact with security or law enforcement without escalating tensions. The incident also sparked important conversations about the role of private security in residential communities. Many HOAs rely on security guards instead of local police, often to save money. But this raises serious questions about training, authority, and accountability. Unlike police officers, HOA security guards don't always have formal law enforcement training or the ability to carry firearms legally in some places. Yet they sometimes act as if they have the same authority. This gray area creates dangerous situations, like the one we faced. Experts in community safety began advocating for clearer regulations and standards for HOA security. They emphasized the need for defined boundaries, proper training, and regular oversight to protect residents' rights and safety. Our experience became a case study in why these changes are necessary. It showed the real-world consequences of putting too much power in the hands of individuals without proper qualifications. The risks aren't just theoretical, they can lead to life-threatening situations. Today, the HOA security force has been restructured. New policies are in place, including mandatory training on conflict resolution, proper use of force, and communication skills. The board has also set up a community oversight committee to monitor security activities and handle complaints transparently. It's not perfect, but it's a start. The community is more informed and engaged. People know their rights better and aren't afraid to speak up if they feel threatened or ignored. For our family, the incident left a lasting impression. It reinforced the importance of being prepared not just physically but mentally and legally. Knowing your rights and staying calm under pressure can make all the difference. Our story serves as a warning and a lesson: never underestimate the power of knowledge and courage when faced with unfair authority. No matter how intimidating the situation, standing firm and staying informed can protect you and those you love. After that tense confrontation, we dug into the HOA's security policies, and what we found was alarming. Their cop was basically an untrained guard given way too much power. There were no clear rules on how to handle armed residents or dangerous situations. This lack of training put everyone at risk. We knew we had to speak up to protect not just our family but the whole neighborhood from potential disaster caused by reckless authority. The incident sparked outrage in our community. Neighbors shared their own stories of intimidation and overreach by the HOA security team. People demanded better training, accountability, and clear limits on the use of force. The HOA was forced to review their policies and bring in experts to recommend changes. But changing the culture of unchecked power wasn't easy. It took pressure, persistence, and the support of the entire community to hold them accountable. Through it all, my son remained humble but firm. His military discipline helped him handle the situation with calm respect, never escalating the conflict but always prepared to protect himself. This experience showed us how important it is to know your rights and stand your ground safely. The HOA's mistake was underestimating who they were dealing with, and that mistake nearly cost them dearly. After the incident, the HOA tried to sweep things under the rug. They claimed it was just a misunderstanding and that their security was doing their job. But the truth was hard to hide. We pushed for transparency, demanding to see their training records and policies. It became clear their security team wasn't prepared for situations like ours. The community began to question if they could really trust the HOA to keep everyone safe when things escalated so quickly. We organized meetings with neighbors and local officials to discuss the dangers of untrained HOA security personnel. Many residents felt scared and powerless before, but now they realized they had to take a stand. We shared information on how to protect yourselves and what to do if confronted by security or law enforcement. Our story became a catalyst for change, encouraging people to know their rights and not let fear silence them. The HOA reluctantly agreed to bring in outside consultants to evaluate their security practices. The report was scathing. It showed poor training, lack of clear rules on use of force, and no accountability system. Recommendations included mandatory training on de-escalation, better supervision, and clear boundaries for security staff. But implementing these changes required constant community pressure and vigilance to ensure they didn't just become empty promises. Our family's experience became a warning for others in similar communities. It exposed the risks of giving too much power to untrained security personnel and showed the importance of preparation and calm under pressure. The incident changed how our neighborhood viewed safety and authority. We now fight for stronger protections, better oversight, and respect for residents' rights, because no one should ever feel threatened in their own home. The tension didn't end with the report. The HOA board was resistant at first, reluctant to admit fault or make real changes. Many feared the expense and loss of control. But residents kept pushing, demanding transparency and accountability. We held regular community meetings, sharing updates and planning next steps. The unity in the neighborhood grew stronger, fueled by the shared goal of safer, fairer security practices. My son's role in this story grew beyond our family. He became a voice for responsible security, speaking at community events about the importance of training and respect. His military background gave him credibility, and his calm handling of the confrontation inspired others. He stressed that real strength comes from discipline and respect, not intimidation or force. Meanwhile, the HOA had to confront legal challenges. Several residents filed complaints and even lawsuits over the aggressive tactics used by security. This put more pressure on the board to act. They began reviewing contracts with security companies and considering alternatives. The possibility of outside law enforcement stepping in became a real topic for discussion. Some HOA members tried to silence dissent, accusing critics of stirring up trouble. But the community stood firm. We knew that speaking out was the only way to prevent future incidents. Silence would mean accepting unsafe conditions and unchecked power. Our fight was about protecting everyone's rights, not just our own. The HOA eventually approved a budget for improved security training. New hires underwent rigorous background checks, and existing staff attended classes on conflict de-escalation, legal boundaries, and cultural sensitivity. The board also set up an anonymous tip line for residents to report problems without fear of retaliation. These changes slowly rebuilt trust but had to be earned over time. Our family didn't stop there. We partnered with local legal aid groups to educate neighbors on their rights when dealing with HOA security or law enforcement. Workshops were held, and informational pamphlets distributed. Empowering the community became as important as reforming security policies because knowledge is a powerful defense. The HOA cop involved in the incident faced disciplinary action. While it wasn't the end of his career, it sent a clear message: reckless behavior wouldn't be tolerated. Other security personnel took notice, knowing their actions were under close scrutiny. The incident had lasting consequences for those responsible. Despite progress, challenges remain. Some residents still feel uneasy about security overreach. The balance between protecting the community and respecting individual rights is delicate and requires constant attention. We continue to hold the HOA accountable, reminding them that safety must never come at the cost of fairness. This experience reshaped how we see community safety. It taught us the importance of vigilance, the need for proper training, and the power of standing up for what's right. Our story is a reminder that authority without accountability is dangerous, but when residents unite, change is possible. In the end, this incident was more than a confrontation, it was a catalyst. It exposed flaws, sparked dialogue, and drove reforms that made our neighborhood safer and stronger. For us, it reinforced the value of preparation, calm, and courage. And it showed that no matter the odds, standing firm can turn a dangerous moment into a powerful lesson for all. Even after reforms, some residents remained skeptical. Change doesn't happen overnight, especially when trust has been broken. We continued to encourage open dialogue between residents and the HOA board. Regular forums allowed people to voice concerns and share experiences. This ongoing conversation helped rebuild a sense of community and kept pressure on the HOA to maintain transparency and fairness. Our family also learned a lot about resilience and advocacy. Facing a powerful HOA can be intimidating, but standing up made us stronger. We realized that knowledge, unity, and persistence are key to protecting our rights. The incident pushed us into a role we never expected, but one we embraced fully, knowing it would help not only us but everyone living here. Local law enforcement took notice of the situation too. They offered to provide training sessions for HOA security personnel, helping bridge the gap between private security and official police work. This collaboration improved communication and protocols, reducing the risk of future confrontations escalating dangerously. The HOA board began re-evaluating the role of private security altogether. Some members suggested relying more on community watch programs and local police, rather than armed guards. This sparked debate, but many agreed that the focus should be on prevention, communication, and respect, rather than force and intimidation. We also saw an increase in neighborhood involvement. More residents volunteered for committees, neighborhood watches, and safety initiatives. This grassroots energy made the community stronger and more united. It reminded us that real safety comes from people looking out for each other, not just from hired guards. Through social media and neighborhood apps, residents shared tips and updates about safety and HOA news. This real-time communication helped build trust and awareness. When people feel informed and connected, they're less likely to feel vulnerable or powerless. My son's experience became a case study in local safety workshops. Experts used it to teach about the risks of untrained security and the importance of clear legal boundaries. It was a way to turn a negative event into a positive lesson for others facing similar challenges. The HOA started hosting regular Meet Your Security events, where residents could get to know the team and voice concerns in a calm, friendly setting. This helped humanize security staff and encouraged cooperation rather than fear. Small steps like these helped to heal divisions within the community. Despite progress, we never forget how close we came to tragedy. That moment when a gun was pointed at my son could have ended very differently. It's a reminder that power must always be handled responsibly, and that preparedness can save lives. This awareness stays with us every day. Our story continues to inspire neighbors to stand up for their rights and demand accountability. It's about more than just one incident, it's about creating a community where everyone feels safe, respected, and heard. That's the legacy we hope to leave behind.